Hey everyone, it's time for the experimental show, and this week I'm having fun making a little house. Yes, it's a little house, kind of like a tiny house, but just stay tuned and you'll find more about it in just a second. Okay, here it is, super tiny house. This is a clay house that I picked up, I don't know, somewhere, and I just thought it was super cute. I really like the idea of it. Each one was a little different, and I'm just kind of commenting how it's small. I'll do one in glass a little bigger. So I'm going to sketch it out. I don't know why, but I tend to draw these things ginormous. Jake was kind of laughing at me like, why are you drawing this so big? But there is the house. The arrow at the bottom constitutes where the punny goes. And I'm thinking we could do it two different ways. So we're going to start with one way, see if I like how it's working, and if not, go another direction. So the roof is a separate part that's added. The punty will go on the top there. And we're going to do a crown punty on this, which is a different style punty. And you're going to see what that looks like in a minute. As always, we ask you to like, subscribe, hit the bell, and tell your friends about our show on YouTube. These go out in your e-news so you guys know about them, but other people stumble upon them from YouTube that have never seen them. So share the wealth, let people know what you're watching. I'm drawing a little door here. If all goes well, I'll get some sort of door put on. So I think I ended up doing like 4 or 6 of these. There's many different angles that we can use and ideas that we can do. Jake was having fun with my new camera and he was zooming in, checking out glory hole, seeing how we could adapt the light. But this is where we're gonna make the roof. There's a little casting on the table I'll show you in a few minutes. And these patterns were used to make the casting. See that line on there, the diagonal line? That was poured on this graphite that's been carved. And you can see the house has a pattern. They have the pattern on the side of the house. I'm looking to put the pattern on the roof. I've got my shears lined up because I'm not sure which pair I'm going to use for the job that I'm doing. Going through the forest here, Jake was like, I got the coolest shot ever. I'm dipping through the forest. There she goes. We put this on fast speed because, like I said, I did a couple of these to try to figure them out. There's a bit of coordination between the people that are making the glass, the bits that you're bringing over, etc. So I don't make these super big for the prototypes. Basically, I want to get all the pieces together, figure out if I want color. So it's just a small, modern size. Modest, not modern, modest size of glass. Back in the background, he's going to be working, assisting me on this while Jake's doing the filming. Back to the glory hole. Talking about this crazy fan they have on the floor. It just like blows the air everywhere. And I'm like, well, how do you guys work with all this air blowing on you? You do have to be careful with the air blowing on you in the studio because the air will cool the glass off. So here's the basic shape of the house. Now, this is a round shape. I do want a square shape. So at some point, Jake's going to take the wooden paddles. And we also have corks that we can use. And he's going to help me square it up. I'm stretching it out so the roof will have more of a point at the top. And then we're going to square it up. So my general experimentation with this piece is figuring out how the roof part works. So I'm not too concerned about the body of the piece being square or weird. There's the house. Because I want to get the roof technique down. So this first one, I squared up on the marker. And I'm capping the back of the pipe, which means I'm not letting the air escape. The problem with doing it this way is you get these chill marks on it. They're like they look like little tiny cracks that are on the glass, and I'm not happy with how that looks. So the ones going forward, we end up using the wood paddles. This is the first handle, and Matt's a little confused on how this is going to work. You can kind of see, he's like, wait, how do you want this? And so Jake's giving him some direction on how to do it, but it has to be done while the glass is super hot right from the furnace. If you don't get it on the first try, it's not going to work. So Matt's a trooper here. He's giving it a go. He's taking the hot glass and he's going to kind of drip it down this graphite. But what happens is the grooves are not deep enough to give the pattern I want. Also, when you do this, you cannot drag it across because it needs to sit only in one space to get that nice line on it. So, plan B, here we go again. Straight from the furnace, dripping it on. The other part is you gotta drip it off consistent so that the shape is the same size. So this one's a little bit better, but you can see now he's pushing it down there and it moves a little bit. So the lines aren't going to be super defined. But again, I want to practice what the roof is going to do. So I'm going to stick it on there anyway. Glass is hot when it's sticky, so these two pieces stick together. The roof is a lot larger than I need. So the next part is just heating that one section, and I'm able to cut it and adjust it as needed. The large straight shears are the shears for this job. However, the glass is already cooling off. Even though it's got orange in there, you can see that towards the end, the glass is kind of clear. It has cooled off immensely. Kind of a square shape, like a rectangle shape. So I'm just going to use the tweezers and push it down. With glass, you can never get sharp lines. So I asked for the metal taglia. That puts a little more pressure on it. If I was to go forward making something with this design, I would definitely use a metal mold to make it work in the scrap bucket. These are all the different colors. You can see we've been making pumpkins. We had some blue glass for our signature pumpkins, but I'm going to start another piece. I'm not going to save it. Basically, I want to figure out that roof part of it. And in retrospect, I could even skipped blowing it and just practiced a couple roof things first before we went forward and put the whole piece together. Pipe, just like if you were in band or orchestra, swinging your pipe around. But what that does is stretch it. It pulls it out and makes it a little bit longer so that I can work it. Jake's using the paddles now. This is kind of funny. He wasn't actually pushing on them flat. I'm laughing because it's kind of crooked. And he's like, what? So any of these things, you gotta really be on top of your game. So this time the hot glass is dripped in one drip. It does not move. And then using the paddle, push down. But again, I won't move it because that alters the shape. But we got it on. Because glass never really gives you sharp angles other than when you cut it like this, your finished product is always going to be like softly rounded. I mentioned before that if I want to continue making these houses, I would probably create some sort of jig that I can put the piece upside down and kind of pressure the roof into the shape that I'm looking for. An example of that is the two metal paddles that I used just there. But the glass has to be the right consistency and the right heat. So next step is to open the bottom of the house. This is a crown putty. It's a small bit of glass pinched, and it's you kind of make like a donut. And with that, it's going to hold on real loose to the top of the roof in many different spots, not just typically one. So it's a larger surface area. It's just holding on to the top so that I can open up the base of the house. Each piece of glass has to go back to the oven to cool. And so here it goes. I like using the jacks like this. The jacks square it up pretty cool. So the house is square. I actually put the roof on in the wrong way in one of them, like not the thin way. So that's another thing to be aware of. So again, there's many moving parts. I got to think about each one. And now I'm just like, hey, Matt, will you hold on to it? I'm going to put the door or the entryway in it. So using the torch, we just actually updated this torch. It's fun to see the old one in there. And I'm taking a piece of cane, and by heating it, touching it to the house, then folding it over for the top part of the door and back. And I think I even get it back door now. Alrighty, back to the furnace to reheat. Make sure all those pieces are fused together, and then we knock it off the pipes. There it is, little house. Kind of looks like a straw hut or something because the roof is so soft. It's not a sharp angle. So that crown punny comes right off. There's hardly any mark there that it was even attached. Just a little torch on it. Jake's gonna put it away. And then the next one I do, we're gonna try something different with the roof. To get the pattern that I'm looking for, I think we're gonna use some color. All right, so it's done. Got the spoon. I asked Jake to pull out some color. He goes way overboard putting a ton of color on there. We hardly used any of it. So what we just want is the black to fill in the squares so that when we pour the glass on top, the squares will have this black color underneath them. We will remelt this powder. What we don't use, this is a little bit more than we needed for sure. You can see because he keeps pushing the squares bigger and bigger. But there's the general pattern, so that's where the handle is going to get laid. So you can see like there's a lot of cooking techniques that are similar to this. Like if you're using powdered sugar and sprinkling it over and using a pattern or a form. So we didn't see the part of where the glass drips over it. You see me cut it, and you can also see the black pattern in there. So it's a crisscross pattern. So the question with this is when I put the punny on, is the punny gonna pull that color away and leave the roof exposed and not have color in that one area? So that is something that I am wondering. We're taking it over here to show you. We're set up some fabric and trying to get a really nice back to the crown punny. This is the punny that it's like the donut. See how it's going to be this ring? Only that ring is going to touch the roof. Usually it's one pinpoint. This time it is going to be this crown. I'm squeezing it a little flatter so it can go over the top of the roof. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to open up the bottom and add a door. Right tool for the right job. Got all the tools there laid out. And if you enjoyed this video, I'll show you the finished pieces in an upcoming experimental show. Be sure to stay tuned and follow us on YouTube to find out more.